Welcome to Wild Her Wisdom, the podcast where sassy meets savvy. Join Shelley and Amy as they dive into the heart of womanhood, blending inspiration, laughter, and authentic conversations. In each episode, they celebrate the wild and wise woman in you, exploring everything from personal growth and self-care to career and relationships. So whether you're looking for a spark of joy, a dose of empowerment, or a good laugh, you're in the right place. Let's get started on today's journey into Wild Her Wisdom.
Welcome, Vanessa, one of my favorite people. It is such an honor to have you here with us today. And I mean that so wholeheartedly. You are so busy and doing so many amazing things. And I appreciate you being with Amy and I today. So I know you a little bit, Amy, and our listeners don't know you. So can you start by sharing a little bit about yourself and your journey into executive leadership and coaching?
Sure, I'd love to. Great to see you again, Shelley. I'm very excited to be here. Amy, it's really nice to meet you.
Yes, likewise.
I appreciate that. And I don't know if I can live up to the hype already. So this would be a very big disappointment for everybody. So lower your expectations.
No.
I ran a consulting engineering firm for 32 years as the COO, CFO, CHRO, all the C's except the CE, because actually I didn't want to be a CEO. I like the nuts and bolts better. And after 32 years, it was just time to move on. But I had planned on longer than that. So I was 60 at the time. And I was like, well, I don't think I'm done. And I spent about 6 months working through, it was a fellowship at the University of Minnesota in advanced careers, which was really a coined term of encore career by a woman named Dr. Phyllis Moan, who said, for boomers in particular, their regular career is about making money. And then their encore career is about giving back, right? And creating value from something that is other than money driven. And throughout that period of time in that fellowship, coaching kept coming up. And I was like, what? I don't know what to do about coaching. I can't just hang a shingle out. And the professor's like, you can go to school. I was like, what? They have schools for coaching? Yeah. So I ended up getting into Columbia, got my coaching certifications. That took about 2 years. And so at 61, 62, I think it was 61 at the time, almost 62, I started being a professional coach. And people would say, how long have you been coaching? I said, well, I've been an amateur for about 25 years, and I'm a professional now because I have all my certifications, right? I got big diplomas on the wall. It's like so nice, right? And the great thing about coaching education at Columbia in particular, so Columbia, Georgetown, George Mason, they're all really geared to academic rigor. So it's really a master's level program. You have to write a thesis. And the idea was, embed the skill set of what coaching looks like, but bring your experience with you. Mm-hmm. And so when I graduated, the professor was like, look, we're going to teach you how to coach. We're not going to teach you to be a coach, because you bringing all of your stuff with you, that's coaching, right? Mm-hmm. That's where creating the connection with people and allowing your experience to expand their experience or enhance the thought process around what does it look like to be my best self. Mm-hmm. And over the last, it's now 3 years, I've put in almost 5,000 hours of coaching, which is a lot.
It is a lot.
And I embedded myself pretty quickly because I found out right out of the gate, I love this. This is like my true calling. This is the one thing that, we all look for and we never find. And, I've been fortunate enough to find it in my encore career. And so I'm actually working longer hours than I was when I was, regular quote unquote job working. And I get up excited and I go to bed exhausted and I get up excited again. It's just the greatest feeling in the world. So I've been coaching all over the world. I have clients in London, New Zealand, all the way through the United States. So my hours, go like this. And that's why I'm actually working longer hours. But I can't get enough of it. It's just great fun connecting with people and sharing these experiences together and allowing the people that I work with to grow into be the best version of themselves. And for the most part, the people that I work with, they have a hesitation about what their greatness looks like. And that's where I walk in with them. It's like, I know you have greatness in you. Let's just go discover it, bring it up to the surface and let it expand. And it's a wonderful experience.
You have
Wow.
such an infectious personality. We did an emotional intelligence program together, and I've glommed on to you since then. And you just have such an infectious personality that I'm sure that that is just so remarkable for your clients
I
to be
appreciate
able
that.
to learn from you and work with you. And I loved what you said. First, I've never heard it called encore career, but I love that
Same. I
because
wrote that
Yeah.
down.
yeah, because
Yep.
I'm 51 now, and it's like I'm thinking about like what's the next thing? I don't ever see myself as like retiring, but what's the next thing? So I love that you called it that. And I loved what you said about when you love what you're doing, you're excited every morning, even
Mhm.
though you exhaust yourself during the day. And it is what we're all looking for. I mean,
Yeah.
it really
Mhm.
truly is. So how wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah. And you pull energy. It's just the weirdest thing, right?
Hmm.
I had a coaching session Saturday with a client who I've had for quite a while, wanted to walk through. She literally just gotten her green card and she's been in the United States for 10 years, a lot of anxiety over being a visa holder. And she wanted to talk right away about, how to get in. I was exhausted and I'm like, okay, fine. We'll talk Saturday. And an hour later, I was just bouncing off the walls.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
It's just like, wow, this is so great, right? To
Hmm.
pick up her energy and be able to work with her. I've been really fortunate. I don't know why. I'm not going to say it's coincidental or not. I don't know what's causing it, but 90% of my clients are female. And we really connect into the space of what it's like to grow up with a sense of lesser than, right? Or a sense of I have 5 different identities, right? I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a sibling, I'm a wife, I'm a peer, I'm a boss, I'm a subordinate. And almost all of them have learned through their experience to show up differently. And in my thesis, the work was on LGBTQ coaching in corporate America. And there was a study done in the UK with 11 countries and the United States that examined 50% of a gay male population in the closet and 50% out of the closet in corporations. And in the United States, the difference in energy or excess energy was 30%. 30% for the men who are out of the closet. I mean, I had posited
Wow.
7%, right? No, it's 30. That's how much energy we're expending trying to be something other than I am. And that really
Wow.
triggered into me with women, with minorities, with all sorts of people who are not white men. And it was, look, you're spending a ton. That's over a day a week being something that doesn't serve you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just wasted energy. So
That gave
what
me chills. That like gave me chills
A
when you
lot.
said that. It really did.
it's a huge number. I still, every time I say it, I'm like, and I go look it up again. Yep, 30%.
Yep. 30%.
Yep.
Wow.
And it's fascinating because when we center in to being our genuine self, right? Now you still have to be a nice, good person. You can't be a jerk and say,
Right.
"Oh, I'm just being genuine." Get
Right.
used to it, right?
But people try that.
Oh yeah, all the time. I'm like, yeah, no,
Just
being a
being
jerk,
authentic.
not genuine, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna move that off.
Yeah.
But being genuine saves me a bunch of time. I call it getting dressed. Because when we get dressed, we don't think about it. We just get dressed. We pick out our outfit, but we don't go, oh, right arm, left arm, head, pants, right? We just get dressed. And we're actually thinking about other things. So it's just an automatic. That's being your genuine self. I don't have to think about it. I just am. And when I just am, all of this great stuff happens because I'm not trying to be something. I just am something. And whether people accept that or reject that, that's not on me. This is the second hard part. First is being genuine. But the second part is I have to let you decide whether you like me, don't like me, accept me, reject me, whatever. I have to leave it alone because I can't control it.
Right.
Right. I
Right.
just have to be there. Now, that doesn't mean I have to stay in it. right? Somebody,
Yeah.
comes at me hostilely, I'm going to walk away, right? I don't need the energy.
Yeah.
I don't need
Yep.
to waste my time.
Right.
But if somebody's curious, I can create the opportunity for them to walk into more information.
Yeah.
Or if they're straight up accepting, I just get to be me and they get to be them. And we sit in this glorious space that keeps doing this and this and this. It's a remarkable thing to watch.
You have some very simplistic analogies, the encore career and just getting dressed. I love all of that. I love all
Thank
of
you.
that.
Amy, do you
It's-
see why I fangirl so hard on Vanessa?
Yes, I do. I get it. And I always just get Shelley's energy. Like when she comes and
She has
she
great
talks
energy.
about someone she wants to talk to, I'm like, okay, then I'm 100% in that. No,
Yeah.
before I even, have a chance to talk to the person too much. But Vanessa, you mentioned working in the space between behavior and performance.
Mhm.
How do you navigate this area to help your clients achieve their best?
So back to the study,
Mm-hmm.
behavior is performance,
Yep.
right? Performance really isn't anything more than an extension of me. Again, we often overcomplicate. I like visuals. I like simplicity because I want things to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm being myself, and myself is a good value-driven person, right? I have value, I create value, I seek value. Performance is just an extension of that because all I'm doing is adding me to the equation of problem solving, right? So somebody says, what are we going to do about this? Well, I don't know. Let's find out. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out what's going on. And then as myself jumps into it and owns it, it starts to percolate and create different solutions. I have to allow, that right side of my brain to open up and work it. Now, there was another interesting study done by Stanford in 2014, and it was trying to scientifically prove the increase in creativity by walking. Now, they'd heard for years and years and years that Einstein, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, they all had walking meetings, right? Einstein in particular, he'd take a break during the day just to walk. He had no science behind it. It was just found he really needed the break. Well, it turns out, my wife's a forensic psychologist. And I said, the study in 2014 at Stanford said increased creativity by 60%, another huge number.
Sweet.
60 by walking.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, would you like to know why? I said, well, of course I'd like to know why.
Yes, please.
That would be great. She said, it's being bipedal opens both hemispheres of the brain. It's the only thing that does that.
Oh.
And she said, so when both hemispheres of the brain are connected, right, I got data and creativity, and it's just flowing. And she said, so there's neuroscience behind it, but there's also the opportunity to let your brain work on its own. Stop getting in the way.
So Shelley, all of this walking you're doing while you're working on your treadmill,
Yeah.
you are being even more creative than you already are.
Exactly.
I do. I just switched to a walking treadmill. I have the
Yep.
standing desk and walking treadmill, and I love it. I'm like obsessed with it.
For me, it was my wife said to me, don't you ever notice how you pace when you're talking?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I never did notice that. I mean, I know I do it, but she
Right.
said, yeah, that's your brain going, ooh, this is coming up.
Hmm.
And it's a fascinating thing. So the thing I loved about Columbia was, they use neuroscience, use whole human coaching, the rigor of academia and research. And so I get to tell these great stories and I get to tie them back with facts and science and things they're saying, look, we're not just making this stuff up.
Yeah.
Right.
There's hardcore stuff behind this. And when we can attach a visualization, there's another piece of science. If I teach a subject and I just teach the subject, let's say it's high data density, you might retain it for about 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I tell a story about that data, you'll retain it almost indefinitely.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, oh, come on. I said, who was your third grade teacher? And I'm like,
Mr.
oh,
June.
Mrs. Carpenter, Mr. June, right? I'm like, we retain stories forever.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's just the way mankind has always been, right? Oral histories. And so we tie all these things together and people go, it's not that hard. I'm just getting in the way.
Mm-hmm.
We do get in our own way.
Yeah. Let's
So
parse it
much.
out.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
Yep.
Oh my
And that's why I
gosh.
admired Dr. Moen so much. She's a world-renowned social scientist, was at Cornell, Kennedy University of Minnesota, and she coined the term encore adulthood. And she
I
said
love that.
at the beginning of the fellowship, she said, look, there are two things that don't exist today that have existed for a really long time: retirement and old age.
Mm-hmm.
And she was 78 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, when do we stop learning?
Never.
Never,
When we
never.
die,
Right.
right?
Right. Learning is
Said,
learning is so
yeah,
important for
lifelong learning,
longevity.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
she said, old age, right? We used to think 65 was old. Hell, 65 is still young,
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And she said, retirement. It was interesting because she and I connected on this. I said, retirement's a very short-lived thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Post World War II to about now. And
Mm-hmm.
from this point forward, it doesn't really exist. It's still a two-class society: the people that have wealth and the people that will work until they can't, and their children take care of them, or they move on. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the middle class is struggling with this
Mm-hmm.
because they've grown up with this notion of things that aren't going to exist in the future. And so
Yeah.
coaching also helps them work through, okay, let's stop and let's remove assumptive learning. Let's go into what is, not what if.
Right.
And every
I
time I
like.
get into the what ifs, I'm like, no,
Mhm.
Come back. Come back.
yeah, I go like, stop it. What if I fail? What if I succeed? What
Right.
if I lose? What if
Right.
I win? I'm like, really, I can do this all day.
Oh,
Let's talk about what is.
I love your, of course, I love your energy, but you do have so many nuggets of wisdom. I often say to clients or to folks I work with is, I've never won an argument with reality before.
Great. I love that. Exactly. Right.
So I have to live
it is
in
what it is.
in the reality of
Yeah.
what's happening. Vanessa, your clients call you fierce and fabulous,
They do.
and it's no wonder. But how do you think your approach to coaching earned this description, helped you earn the description?
I had a particular client coin that phrase. He was a very conservative man. And I was selected to coach him. We have a 30-minute chemistry call. And for 29 minutes, he spoke. And in the last minute, I just had a single question. I said, do I make you uncomfortable? And he said, no. I said, okay, that's all I have. And that was it. 2 weeks later, he selected me as his coach. I called my coach manager and I said, this guy's literally my polar opposite. Right? He's a conservative, right-wing Christian, born again, Trump supporter. I'm like,
Yeah.
like everything I'm not.
Yep.
She said, which is why you're exactly perfect for him. And he wants to coach with you. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So first 2 sessions, he says, life's transactional. I'm like, okay. Yep. I go to work. I earn a paycheck. I bring it home. My wife takes the money and she runs the household, and whatever she says goes. That's it. She said she doesn't want to be married anymore. Okay, I'm not married, and I walk out. Very transactional. Everything's life trend. And he'd had a tough childhood, right? Not abusive, but tough.
Yeah.
And he's working in a tough field. And so, he's just got this thick skin. 3rd session, he started talking about his grandson, who was 10 years old. He was coaching him in football. And this guy's highly educated. He's an engineer from Purdue. And at the end of the session, I wheeled back and I said, can we go back to transactional living? Sure. And I said, how transactional is your relationship with your grandson? And just like that, he said, you've given me something to think about. And he coined the term at the end of our coaching, you are fierce but fabulous.
He was right. Yes, he was.
And I think what he meant was, you don't call bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, here's where it is. If you want to go there, we'll go there. But if you don't want to go there, don't waste my time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because of my life experience, because of my age, because of all the stuff I bring into coaching, I have the gift of being able to see things very, very quickly. And so, I might hear somebody talking about something and I'll just say, what I'm hearing are a lot of words around fear. Did you want
Mhm.
to talk about fear? And they're like,
Mhm.
how do you know that? I'm like, I don't know. I just do.
Mhm.
And so I'm known to be candid and quick into areas that we need to work on, but also quick to heal. Right? I've had so many clients that have. I had one client come out. I had one client come out as bisexual to a group. Now, bisexuality is the worst, quote unquote, of them all, because right, many times they're derided for pick a side,
Mm.
right? And people don't understand it. It's like, well, how do you like both sexes? And the best description I ever heard was, it's got nothing to do with the physical body, it has to do with the soul.
Right.
I connect with the soul of that person. The body is just immaterial.
Mhm.
And I thought, this is amazing that she's coming out to her entire team, right? There's 60 people in this room.
Mhm.
She said, can I tell my story? Sure. She started to cry and she came out. People were amazed. I mean, when you create a space where people feel safe and
Yeah.
non-judged, they will do almost anything
Yeah.
to be in that space genuinely,
Mhm.
because they never get that opportunity.
Amazing. Well, I know one of the things that you two share is this emotional intelligence training and connection. So, emotional intelligence plays a significant role in effective leadership. Can you share your strategies for enhancing this in the individuals that you coach?
It is individual. I don't have a particular strategy. It's individualized to each person. Some people will come in and show up very guarded. Right?
Mhm.
I have to strip away the layers first in order to get down to the layers that mean something. Right? Most people who have, who are female or of a minority status have put up barriers. Right? They're protective. They're survivalist.
Mhm.
Based on their life experience. Some are better than others, but almost all of them have those guardrails. And we have to get through those first to be able to create that space and then say, okay, so now here we are, wide open and vulnerable. Vulnerability requires the knowledge that I could be hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't work. Right? I'm like, look, trust requires vulnerability. When I'm going to open myself up and say, I'm going to trust you, what's one of the outcomes? I could be hurt.
Mhm.
And if I'm not going to accept that that's an outcome, I can't go there because it won't work. I won't be actually vulnerable. And so they have to open up into a space of what might be painful or just difficult, right? There might be trauma, there might not be trauma. And so when we walk in together, it's like, what's preventing you from being your genuine self? What's causing you to show up this way,
Mhm.
right? With your staff, is what I'm hearing is you're very directed and very transactional.
Mhm.
What's going on there? Right? Is there something that you're afraid of? Is there something that you don't want to be vulnerable to? Because they want you to show up vulnerable. They don't want you to show up weak. That's not the
Right.
same,
Right. There's a difference.
right? But open and vulnerable means I'm a human being. I have flaws,
Yeah. Yep.
right? And no leader wants to ever say I have flaws. I'm like,
You
people that,
human?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
People doing presentations and they're deathly afraid of one
Yep.
thing, being asked a question they don't know the answer to.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, that's right. You're supposed to know every answer, right?
Mhm.
They're like, well, I feel like that. I said, then why are you there? Because you should be way above that. I said, if somebody asks me a question in a presentation, I'm like, that's a hell of a question. I don't have the answer right now, but I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
It's over. That's
Right.
it.
Boom.
Right?
Mhm.
I said, no, if somebody comes back at me, that's on them. Right? I'm like, well, okay, if you're trying to embarrass me, you're right. I don't know the answer to that question. Can we
Yeah.
move on? Right? I'm
Yeah.
going to take it. I'm just going to own it.
Yep.
I'm not going to let them take my power away.
Mhm.
I am doing this presentation. I'm not going to allow them to take the power away. And that power comes from emotional intelligence and emotional security. I know who I am. I'm
Yeah.
comfortable in who I am. I'm comfortable how I show up. And where does confidence come from? It comes from comfort.
Mhm.
And where does comfort come from? Knowledge.
Right.
Where does knowledge come from? Experience, education, and training. It's a
Mm-hmm.
simple path and it's linear.
Yeah.
Right?
Such a important skill to teach or share.
It's amazing because people are like, really? I don't have to know everything?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know who told you that, but you don't.
Right.
How boring would life be if there was nothing to be
I
curious about?
know.
Exactly.
No diversity
Right?
at all.
Right.
Right. You're
Right.
you're leading us right into my next question, Vanessa, because you are so authentic. I mean, you're just, this is me, this is who I am. And I love that. And I think that's one of the things that really um, made me want to be your friend. I
Thank
just
you.
like, I need to know her. I need to know her because she's so authentic and just shows up so authentically. And that's something that resonates with our listeners. How do you guide the people that you work with toward living authentically, toward living their values? Because it's a lot of work. Oftentimes, just figuring that out is a lot of work. You have to shovel the shit to get there.
Yeah, that's really well said. And I appreciate your kind words. The journey's hard, and you have to accept that to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not okay, I got it, and there I'm done. It's literally 24/7. I'm going to show up poorly days. I'm going to show up bad. I'm going to show up angry. I'm going to show, there's a whole host of behaviors that don't serve me, but they still exist. The trick is understanding it and accepting it and then getting past it, right? You're in a relationship, show up, you're in a bad mood, somebody triggers you with a word, bang, something bad happens. I'm saying stupid stuff. The trick is turning back around and going, I'm sorry, that was stupid stuff. I'm gonna go over here and just kind of decompress for a minute. Okay. What I didn't mean what I said. I hope you'll accept my apology. 99% of the time, that's going to kill it, right? It's going to be over.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get too deep in and we've lost our authentic self. We are driving down into stuff we're hanging on to because it's comfortable, even though it's painful.
Mhm.
We've created nice little compartmentalizations of all our pain, and we go back there because it's comfortable.
Yeah, the devil you know, right? The devil you know
Exactly.
versus the devil you
Exactly.
don't know.
Right?
Familiarity.
Yeah.
100%.
Mhm.
So each time I try to decompartmentalize, I'm opening up a can of worms. I have to be okay with that. I have to be ready for it. But each time I do that, I expand this notion of who am I? I work with a lot of people in transition, and a lot of women in particular. They're like, I'm a director here and you really need to be a VP. This job's boring. I got it all. I need to be challenged.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I said, okay, great. And they go, what should I do? I'm like, I have no idea what you should do. I said, how about we get the horse in front of the cart instead of the cart in front of the horse? What do you mean? I said, well, what you want to do is the second question. The first question is, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Truly, who are you? Right? And people are like, well, that seems hard. Like, yeah, that's why nobody does it. Because it's a two-step beat. First, describe to me who you are. Now, this can be done in simple, straightforward sentences. I'm an authentic person. I love integrity. I love honesty and ethical and moral behavior, right? All these one line. I tell people to get a journal. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just write it down once, just statement. I don't want paragraphs, just statements. And keep that journal for a couple of weeks. Whenever it comes up, it's like, oh yeah, I really value this. That's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm creating all these statements of value. And they come back. And I recently did this with a senior executive woman. And she said, I have 12 statements. I said, great. We wrote them all down. And I said, and I read them back to her and I went, what does that sound like? She goes, it sounds like a job description. I said, look at that.
Oh, look at that.
I said, suddenly we're moving into value of authenticity with emotional intelligence based on me observing me
Mm-hmm.
and identifying what that value is. And now I can go say, how do I do that? Where can I put that in play? And roles start to appear. I'm not
Well,
shotgunning, I'm going straight at it.
You are doing very well at coming into the next questions that each of us have in mind. Because the next one that I was thinking of asking was, and you're talking about your journaling and stuff, but your work emphasizes that creative exploration of capabilities and effectiveness. So you mentioned the journal already, but are there other ways that you help foster a space of creativity in a corporate context?
Sure. One of the easy ones, and this is an old coaching question. If you could do anything you wanted to do,
Mhm.
no rules, no boundaries, what would you do? And almost everybody has an answer. And then the tail fall is, why aren't you doing that? What's preventing you?
Yeah, that one.
Right?
Yep.
So
Well,
exactly. I had this great client. She was a corporate salesperson, super successful, big house, kids, the husband, the whole thing, right?
mhm.
And she was like, I'm just unhappy. And I threw it out. I said, okay, well, if you could do anything you want, no rules, what would you do? She said, I'd be an interior designer.
Mm.
And I said, well, what's stopping you? She went, this.
Yeah.
And I said, interesting. Who created this?
Mm-hmm.
I did. I said, so you can tear it down. And there the fear jumps in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Why would I tear it down? Because you're living a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You're living an expectation of life, not your life.
Ooh,
This is
I'm
one of the
writing that
hardest.
down. I'm
That's
writing that down.
it's hard for people to hear. It
It
One
is
is.
more time, one more time. You're living an expectation of life, not life,
not your life.
not your life. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Because think
Yeah.
about it. We go to college,
Mm-hmm.
we train for something, right? But we don't, I mean, we're 18. What do we know?
We don't know.
Right. Then we come out and we're like, okay, I got debt to pay off, so I need to get a job. So we get a job. Next thing I know, I'm getting married. I got kids. I got a house. I'm 15 years in going, what am I doing?
Yep. So many people can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
I had a woman, she said, I want to be an officer of the company by the time I'm 45. Okay. How old are you? 45. I said, interesting. I said, why not 40 or 50? What's magic about 45?
Mm-hmm.
She's like, frankly, I don't know. I have to get back to my husband. I said, okay. 2 weeks later, I said, and I couldn't even get the sentence out. She goes, yeah, talk to my husband. And he said, I remember exactly. You walked in the door and went, this was 8 years earlier, walked in the door and went, I got this job. I'll be an officer by the time I'm 45.
Oh, okay.
I said, wow, not just arbitrary, but left field arbitrary. Came out of nowhere. And bam, like that, it was an expectation. No thought to it at all. It embedded so quickly because that was the mindset. I set a goal, I go get it. I achieve that goal, I set another goal. I don't celebrate. I never pause and go, yay, I won. Nope, we just moved the bar.
Yep. Move on to the next
No
thing.
wonder we're unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
Because we get to the mountaintop and guess what happens? You're like, where's the parade?
No parade.
No parade.
Right.
Where's the next
Everyone,
mountain?
Yeah.
everyone
Nobody
look at
cares.
me. Yeah.
Right. And they're like, wait a minute, there was supposed to be the pot of gold, the parade, the rainbow, the whole thing. Nope, no one cares.
Mm-mm.
And that's the last message.
Mm-hmm.
Corporations are inanimate objects. They have no feeling. They do not care. If you were to leave the next day, they would go, Shelly's gone. Okay, we should replace her. And that's about it.
Yep.
Whole minute of thought. So
Yep.
if they don't care, where does it come back to? It comes back to me. I
Right.
have to care. And yet we continue to live our life through other people's expectations for us, and we don't give it a second thought,
Mm-hmm.
as if this is the way, right? And we know hundreds and hundreds of people that are like really unhappy in middle age. Why? Well, because they never led their own life. They've led the life they were expected to lead from, age 5 on.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I brought this book up a couple of times and you just made me think about it again, Vanessa. I'm reading The Road to Character. And I don't know if you've read it. You're smiling,
Yep.
so I'm guessing you
Great
did.
book.
And yeah, he talks about our resume virtues versus our eulogy virtues. And
Mhm.
that's something that's really resonating with me as I'm reading it. And it goes back to what you're saying. Oftentimes we're living that expectation versus, the richness that life is, which to me is the human connection, uh,
Exactly.
the relationships,
Yeah.
those are the things that you're going to really look back on fondly. And so I love what you're saying. I could keep you here forever, but we need to wind down. So I want to ask you a question that's really important to me, and then I'll let Amy ask a question that's really important to her. But you, as I've said, are so inspirational to me and to others. I'm sure I'll be the Lorax and speak for others. You're an inspirational person.
Thank you.
But I'm curious who inspires you? Like, can you share about a mentor or someone who's helped you shape your journey?
Tough question. Like a lot of us, I grew up isolated into success. Right from age 5 on, we do stuff and we get a reward. Right, gold star, blue ribbon, graduate degree, whatever. And then one day we're put into leadership, and we have no clue how to do that because we're used to doing. And they're like, "No, we don't want you to do anymore. We want you to lead," which is thinking. And it's like, yeah, but they didn't teach us this.
No.
Where's the reward? Oh,
Yeah.
no. You're going to reward others now.
Mhm.
Well, wait a minute. I'm looking at 40 years of reward here. Right? This doesn't work for me. And what I discovered was, I had lived probably till about 50. I had lived a life based on unmet expectations of others. Right, that constant drive and motivation to succeed when there was no defined success. It was just one thing after another. And I found early success and early emptiness. And when I was 50, 55, somewhere in that range, I met somebody who challenged me, who said, "You are living a lie." And I went,
Wow.
Well, it's a pretty successful lie. Like,
Right.
yeah, but how happy are you? I said, happiness was never part of the game.
Mm.
The accumulation of wealth or materials wealth was the purpose. Comfort. Happiness was never part of the gig in the baby boomer generation.
Mhm.
The Gen Zs and millennials have taught us a lot here.
Mhm.
And the person who inspires me the most is my wife, Jo, who I
Oh,
had mentioned is a forensic psychologist. And
Mhm.
she worked in the prison system for 20 years working with sex offenders.
Mhm.
And she's lived the most courageous life I've ever experienced. She inspires me every day to be genuine, to be truth, to be vulnerable, to expose yourself to things that scare the hell out of you,
Mhm.
because that's where the learning and growth is. And so for me, it wasn't a lifelong, it was an end of or encore life where I finally found that person who I could admire and say, I want to be like you. Right? You inspire me.
Yeah.
And that was a hard revelation, right? To walk into yourself and go, so what is it all about? Right?
Yeah.
Success on whose board?
Yeah.
right.
Right? On some people's board, they're like, oh my God, you're successful. When I got divorced, my wife's therapist was like, but you're so successful. I said, not so much. Like,
Mhm.
and my ex-wife said, but you drive a nice car and you have this nice house, you have nice
Yeah.
things, right? That was her
Yeah.
measure of success.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the first time I went, yeah, wow, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got all that stuff and I'm still not happy.
Mhm.
Right. Because it's just stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now look at you paying it forward.
Yeah. And that's the
Helping
fun
others.
part. That's why it's so exciting.
Yeah.
And I had a Gen Z teach me something amazing. And I said, look, you keep talking about work-life balance. And I know we're going along here, but too bad.
That's okay.
We'll keep you here all day, Vanessa.
Yeah.
We adore
That's all
you.
right.
No, you're so great. So he was saying to me, you boomers, you have no idea what work-life balance is. I said, okay, hang on. We invented work-life balance. What do you mean? I said, look, my kid had a baseball game. I left work at 3:30. I came back at 7, worked till midnight. Don't tell me about work-life balance. It just doesn't look like this.
Right.
I said, it's work life, right? It's not a linear line. It's a bell curve or a sine wave.
Yeah.
And I said, so I'm curious, what about work-life balance are you really talking about? Let's get away from the nomenclature. And he said, here's the thing. You guys work, your whole generation worked hard. I mean, worked your ass off, right? 80-hour weeks, right? Constant, 20 years, 30 years. And he said, here's the thing. You graduated from college. You worked your ass off for another 43 years. And then you decided you were going to have fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I was like,
Yeah. It's a
Right?
hard realization.
right in the forehead with a 2x4.
Yep.
I'm like, wow, did
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, when you put it that way, you are 100% right.
Yeah.
yeah. I felt that. That hurt.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. We all felt that collective 2x4.
It's like, oh man, I hate it when you're right.
All right. I have a fun question for us to end on here. So if you could travel anywhere in the world for a month, where would you go and why?
London. I love London. I love the city. The city gives me life. I've worked in downtown Minneapolis for 35 years. And when I was about 23, I guess, I walked out of my building. It was late at night, like 9 o'clock. And the city was twinkling. And I was like, God, I love the city. I love the energy of the city. And it gives me life. It makes me feel excited and genuine and alive. And London has the advantage of being a walking city like New York City, right? New York's a little too New York for me, but London to me, right? Again, if I had unlimited resources, could do anything I want, I'd live in London and just enjoy all the culture, right? The amazing diversity, the incredible aspect of being in a place that values differences and allows you to basically be yourself, right? And explore all the nuances of who you are. And that's what I love about cities. Cities rarely judge. They have tiers of judgment, but they rarely judge by themselves because they're too big. They don't care. So you get to be you, right? There's no pressure not to be you. There's so much of it everywhere. And I love that, right? But if I wanted to spend a month anywhere, it would be anywhere on a beach where I didn't have to do a thing. I could just sit there, watch the waves come in all day long with a cocktail and a book where I read the first page 43 times.
Perfect.
Page 1.
Perfect.
Okay.
I love that answer.
How did we go? Yep, I'm back at page 1 because I don't remember what I read. Right?
I'm just watching the water.
Watching the water. How far did you get in your book? Page 1.
Page 1. Speaking of books, Vanessa, I'm ready for you to write a book. I'm ready. I'm going to be the first one that picks up your book because you have so much to share. So
you're so sweet. Thank you.
When you do it, if you do it, I'm going to say when. I'm going to put it out there. When you do it, let us know because we're going to buy it.
I appreciate that so much. This has been a blast. I really appreciate you guys reaching out. This has just been really, really fun. I can't believe, we're 40 minutes in. That's just amazing.
I know. It does fly.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you stunning souls, unfortunately, we've reached the end of another journey together on the Wild Her Wisdom podcast. But don't let the conversation stop here. Keep the inspiration flowing by connecting with us on social media. Like our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram for a dose of empowerment and updates. And for those who just can't get enough, head on over to wildherwisdom.com. There you can connect with us, stay up to date on all our latest adventures, and catch up on episodes you may have missed.
So until next time, keep embracing your wild and exploring your wisdom. Remember, you are capable, you are resilient, and you are amazing. Keep shining.